Welcome to the Rice Field Archive. This time we step into a darker corner of Vietnamese realist literature, Nam Cao's short story, The Death of Old Ink. At first it may seem like a small and ordinary story from a rural household, but as it unfolds, something quiet and unsettling begins to emerge, something not easily forgotten. Content warning. This story includes the suffering and death of an animal. It is presented as a work of Vietnamese realist literature, not as graphic or sensational content. Some listeners may find it emotionally upsetting, so settle in and let this old story begin. People had been planning to kill Ink for a long time. Of the two dogs in the house, Ink was the older one, but it was also the one with the most faults. It was greedy. That was ordinary enough. It was covered in ticks. That alone was bad enough for it. It bit without warning. That was the misery of beggars. But it also barked like a crowing rooster, and that was something no one could forgive. At first, they had decided that Ink should die around the grave sweeping festival. Fortunately for it, the mistress of the house fell ill that day. Then they postponed it until the 5th month festival. But suddenly, the youngest child became unwell, and the mother had to avoid all unlucky things so that her milk would remain pure for the baby. At last, they firmly decided to slaughter Ink on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month, no matter who was ill. But this time, Ink escaped death again, thanks to Zhu. The eldest son, who had been away for a long time, had just written home to say that he would soon return. His mother was as happy as if she had found some precious thing she had lost, and she decided to delay Ink's execution once more. And now, Zhu had come home. Yesterday evening, that restless young man had walked into the yard, struggling under the weight of a heavy suitcase, his mouth smiling and his face flushed. The thatched house and the few areca palms seemed to straighten themselves up to welcome him. Then his younger brothers and sisters pushed the bamboo screen aside and rushed out noisily, while his mother, overcome with joy, laughed and cried at the same time. But the first to greet him was Ink. The old dog let out its strange, rooster-like cry and ran toward Zhu. His mother shouted, and the children cursed it with rough words. Zhu looked at everyone in confusion. "Mother, you don't seem very well. Oh, the children have all grown so much. Thang, Tu, and who is this? Ah, little Thao, our tiny mouse. You look so pretty now. Ah, Ink, is that still the same old dog? It has grown terribly old." The dog had recognized its former master. It stood there silently, wagging its tail, its head lowered, its bleary wet eyes looking down at the ground as if ashamed of its own fate. Zhu felt pity for it. This had been the quiet friend who had stayed beside him in the old days, when the nights were still and he sat staring at the moon, dreaming. He wanted to bend down and stroke it, but it was terribly filthy. Its fur had fallen out in patches, exposing white flesh underneath, some places rough with sores. Its whole manner was old, sad, and furtive, as though it were weakly trying to defend itself. Gone were the bold wagging tail, the friendly eyes, the eager sniffing at his feet, all the signs of a dog that was happy and unsuspecting. Zhu felt a heaviness in his heart. He touched the dog gently with his foot to show affection. Ink wagged its tail harder, but still edged away timidly, like someone afraid, trying to smile at the very person he feared. Then, at once, it twisted its body and let out a short, sharp cry. One of Zhu's younger brothers, thinking Zhu had missed his kick, avenged him by landing a hard kick in the animal's ribs. Ink slunk away, not even daring to run off openly and hide. Zhu scolded his brother. "Why are you so cruel, too? What does it matter? Tomorrow we're killing it for you to eat anyway." The joy of Zhu's homecoming was suddenly reduced by half. The image of the mangy dog and its vague sadness lingered in his mind. The next morning, while he was eating, he caught sight of it passing by, its head lowered, its eyes glancing sideways like a deceitful person. He wanted to call it in, hold it between his feet, and as he ate, toss it bits of rice from the same bowl. But he could not. Such tenderness was a weakness of the soul, and who could understand that one might love a dog so terribly dirty? After the meal, Hoa carried a bowl of rice outside. In one hand, she also held a basket, as if she were about to stack the dishes in it. Seeing food, all of Ink's animal instincts rose up completely. It leapt forward, wagging its tail, lifting its muzzle as it watched and waited. The moment the rice was poured down, it thrust its snout into the food and began to eat. Before the first mouthful had even passed its throat, the basket came crashing down over its body. Ink screamed and struggled violently, but Hoa had already thrown her whole weight onto the basket, and Ink was trapped so tightly inside that it could no longer thrash or cry out. The children shouted excitedly. Knives, chopping boards, and rope had already been prepared. The task of lifting the basket had to fall to Zhu. The master of the house was away, and Zhu was the only man at home. It would have been absurd to borrow a neighbor merely to tie up a dog that had already been neatly trapped. All he had to do was raise the rim of the basket slightly. Once the dog stuck its head out, one of the children would press a stick down on its neck, and Zhu would step on the stick. But his hands began to tremble, and just as the dog poked its head out, it gave one violent twist and escaped. Hoa smiled to herself. The children stared blankly after the dog as it yelped and ran into the garden. Zhu's face turned as red as a ripe jackfruit. He felt that his hands were weaker than Hoa's. Was it possible that he was more tender-hearted than even a girl? And suddenly, he became angry with Ink. Everyone worried that Ink, frightened now, might run away for good. Sure enough, it did not return all that day. It wandered through the neighbors' gardens, creeping about like a dog on the verge of madness. They thought it was lost for good, but that evening it slipped under the bed. Later, Zhu heard its rooster-like cry again from the gate. The next morning, Ink still refused to eat. At noon, it did the same. Whenever it saw a human shadow, it tucked its tail and fled. Zhu felt sorry for it and told someone to pour rice out in the garden. After a while, Ink came near. It looked around, sniffed over the grains of rice, and then suddenly sprang back and ran straight away. Perhaps the terrible memory had flashed up and struck its nerves like a current of electricity. Zhu felt restless and unsettled. Was it pity, remorse, or shame? In the end, he grew irritated. He realized that a dog had disturbed the calm of his soul, and suddenly, he wanted very much to kill Ink. He wanted to have enough courage to kill a living thing. One must dare to kill without trembling when killing was necessary. What could he ever amount to if his heart pounded at the mere killing of a dog? His hesitation was over. Once an intention had taken shape, it quickly grew strong. Zhu felt his heart harden. At one point, he even imagined the pleasure of driving a knife into a writhing piece of flesh and feeling warm blood spurt onto his hand. That afternoon, when he saw the dog in the garden, he was almost glad. The wretched animal, worn out by hunger and fear, had collapsed from exhaustion. It was sleeping beside the hedge. Zhu picked up a heavy stick and crept toward it. But as he raised the stick, his heart suddenly trembled. He felt as if he could not breathe. He stopped for a second and looked at the dog. Its sleep must have been full of nightmares, for every now and then, its whole body jerked. Zhu felt all his determination dissolve, but the dog suddenly woke with a start. In his panic, Zhu swung the stick with all his strength and struck it across the body. Its belly shrank in sharply. then swelled out again, like a mass of rubber. It howled, staggered to its feet, stumbled in a few circles, then blindly forced its way through the hedge, while Zoo, frantic, kept striking at the ground after it. Late that night, Zoo heard Ink howling again. Sweat broke out all over him, and he firmly decided that he would not kill the dog anymore. But near dawn, while he was still half dreaming, he heard Hoa shouting in alarm. The poor animal, exhausted beyond endurance, had fallen asleep right in the middle of the yard, and Hoa had managed to trap it under the basket. This time, everyone was more careful. 2 or 3 people gripped the 2 ends of a bamboo pole laid beside the basket. Only then did Hoa lift the rim slightly. Seeing light, Ink pushed out its wet muzzle, breathing hard. Hoa raised the basket a little more, but one knee was already pressing down on it. Ink slipped its whole head out. The pole came down hard. The poor animal had no time even to cry. "Press it down, hard, don't let it go, or it'll bite." Zoo shouted this, but his voice was already trembling. The dog gave another broken breath. Half of the breath had escaped before it was cut off. The pole pressed close to the ground. Its eyes bulged. The wet black pupils slowly became fixed, then rolled halfway upward beneath the upper lids. The whites of its eyes had already begun to cloud over. By the time Hoa had tied both its front legs and hind legs and bound its muzzle, the dog had gone limp and no longer moved. Zoo choked back his tears. And so this story comes to a close. Nam Cao's The Death of Old Ink leaves us with a quiet heaviness, the kind of sadness that does not shout, but stays with us after the final words. If this story left an impression on you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you would like to hear more Vietnamese literature, folk tales, myths, and forgotten stories, please consider subscribing to the Rice Field Archive. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next story.